Welcome to 2023. This is going to be an exciting year, our biggest year ever with the biggest projects we have ever tried to accomplish. But before we set sail into a new year, let's look back at all the things that we were able to do in 2022 because we had partners running alongside of us making it happen. We started the year off with a Christmas trip to Ecuador because of COVID restrictions. We couldn't do it in December. I sent a team to Ecuador to give out hundreds of gifts at Pan de Vida. We also had a scouting trip with Brian and Ashley to Honduras to see some ministry going on there. We took 26 to the Arctic, putting on a youth conference, traveling 140 miles by ice road, recording a music video along the way to reach these remote villages of 250 people, doing nightly services, pouring into the local community, and to top it all off, we got to see a polar bear and the most amazing Northern Lights show I have ever seen. We were so excited in March when Jeremy, Becca, and their 3 kids took 3 months to serve alongside our partners in Japan, teaching the school and helping in their church and serving the missionaries from March to June. And they weren't the only ones to do extended stays overseas. Renee spent 2 months in Kumbani village in Mozambique. She helped lead 3 Far-Flung air teams and helped Sally on the ground. Those 3 trips were incredible. It included Children's Day for 2,500 kids, an awesome youth conference where they got to experience things they have never seen before. Our teams got to experience home visits, staying the night in different homes in the villages, ministering in daily church services, jumping in on a feeding program. In June, we had a team go to Thailand with Living Word International. Every year, we've been honored to be able to build another village church for this organization. The team went there and built onto a widow's home. They did ministry to orphans in 2 different orphanages, and they had some epic adventures along the way. This summer we had 3 Ecuador trips, and those would not be possible if we didn't have team members like Jonathan, Amanda, and their little baby stay there for 5 weeks, helping the ministry on the ground and leading those teams. These teams come and help with the feeding ministry, put on a VBS, serve in the church, and do repairs for the building. Things were pretty strict in Ecuador, so we got to see them open up for the first time since COVID started, and it was amazing just to see kids come back and things become normal again. In August, we launched our partnership in the Philippines where we filmed an entire full-length documentary. If you want to watch that film, there's a QR code here for the next few seconds where you can watch the entire film. This amazing ministry called One Way Outreach has planted over 1,000 churches in the Philippines. They're building about 5 churches a month, and they are not slowing down. It is amazing that we are partnered with them, and we cannot wait. We had a scouting trip to Zambia where we saw 2,000 people come through a clinic within a matter of days, revival services. This is going to be an amazing future project. We took 19 to Peru to the floating islands where we have finished building a floating church, the first church ever on the floating islands where people have been living as a community for 4,000 years. And we went up to the highest city on earth where we ministered for days, walking through the streets, praying for people. We saw miracles, salvations. We had another family do an extended stay overseas. Brian and Ashley served the missionaries in the Arctic for 5 weeks, most of that in complete darkness as the sun goes down for 6 weeks. And we ended the year with a Christmas trip to Ecuador. 26 on this team, handing out toys for 400 kids throughout Ecuador. So in 2022, we helped build a guest house in Mozambique. We're helping build a brand new church in Mozambique that will seat 500. We built a church in Thailand. We built a church on the floating islands, and we built a church 500 miles into the Amazon. We've been able to help feeding programs in Mozambique, Peru, and Ecuador. We've seen hundreds of salvations. We wrapped up a season of our kids show. We wrapped up season 4 of our reality show. And on this trip and most of our trips, we were able to have these short stories, 4-page stories about the places that we go to. This is one of the favorite things that these kids get. They don't have stories about their places where they live. And so to have a story that takes place there about Jesus, about their home, is such a special thing. And we can't make these stories and coloring pages without partners that come alongside of us. And this was our biggest year to date. But 2023 has much bigger plans in store. In March, we have a team at the same time headed way up north to the Arctic and a team headed way down south to Uruguay at the same time. And just 10 days later, we have our Together project, Together Chapter 3, Japan. This project only happens every 4 years. You'll be hearing a lot more about it this year, but we're going to have 90 people from around the world, 15 countries, meeting in Japan to minister together, record an album, crusades, outreach, children's ministry, and pour into all of our indigenous leaders around the world as we minister together and to each other. It is going to be insane. If you want to keep toward that, there's a QR code at the bottom here because we have a lot to fundraise for that massive once every 4 year project. and it is our biggest project we have ever tried to accomplish. In May, there's a team headed to Mozambique for Children's Day. In June, we have a Thailand trip. In July, we have another Mozambique trip doing youth conference, and an Ecuador trip, and a Philippines trip. In August, we're headed to Pakistan for a new project. And we have a Zambia medical trip. In September, we're taking 20 Japanese to do missions work. This is the beginning of Far-Flung becoming less about Americans going around the world and the world going around the world. In October, we're taking the team back into the Amazon. November is the floating islands. And December is Christmas in Ecuador. We're launching a new children's book, another season of our kids show, another season of our reality show. We plan to dedicate the church in Mozambique, build more churches in the Amazon, Thailand, and the Philippines, release a new worship album, a new season of our podcast, and you are invited along on this journey. If you want to sign up on our trips, the trips are now open. You can scan this QR code right here if you want to go on a trip in 2023. All the trips are open. Some of them are already filling up. We want you to be a part, whether it's giving, going, interceding. You have a part to play in missions, and 2023 is your year to jump in on it. Thank you so much for supporting us in 2022. We could not do these things without partners, and we are so anxious and excited for all the things that God has put on our plate for 2023, and we're inviting you to continue to be a part of that story. Thank you so much for believing in us, and we will see you throughout the year.